when you visit Harrison, it's required that you do 2-a-days in the gym. So I'm pretty sore right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Wanna make that paper, wanna make that dough. This is the affiliate marketing show. Wanna make that paper, wanna make that dough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Affiliate Marketing Show. Once again, I'm one of your hosts, Josh from OfferVault.com, the industry's #1 aggregator of all things affiliate marketing. We also have the call daddy himself, Adam Young, as well as the industry legend, Harrison Gevirtz, as well as Matthew Zivkovic, the owner and founder of LeadSmart, as well as the current CEO and operating partner of Futuredontics, aka 1-800-Dentist. Matt is a pioneer in the pay-per-call affiliate industry and started LeadSmart back in 2008. It was one of the first performance marketing companies to use the internet to drive consumer-initiated phone calls to service campaigns on a nationwide scale. LeadSmart is currently one of the largest pay-per-call affiliate networks in the world, boasting over 3,500 registered affiliate partners and focusing on service-based niches, whatever you prefer, that have wide regional or national reach. What is up, Matt? How are you doing today?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that intro. ChatGPT wrote that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are also pro firing Josh, right? And replacing him with ChatGPT because we've been trying.
He read it good. But, you know,
he was doing so good until he had to use a big word.
Niches. Niches. I think it's to each their own with that one. It's one of those words we could go either way. Matt, let's get right into it here. I know this is one of the topics you brought to the show today. Google sued publishers for fake Google listing schemes. The man in question here with the last name Hugh buys thousands of fake positive reviews to make his businesses appear legitimate. He then sells the profiles as leads to real businesses in the same field, which receive contacts for potential customers who reach out to these fake businesses. Can you give us, wow, look at that. Google on my phone is actually about to answer my question because I said that. Can you give us a little bit of background on this story and what kind of implications you think it might have in the affiliate and pay-per-call space?
It is just pretty big. Normally we deal with like algorithm updates that kind of rock our world. So this is different because we've always tried to game Google one way or another. Even if you're doing white hat, black hat, gray hat, you're trying to figure out a way how to circumvent Google's algorithm or leverage it to get the most traffic out of it. In the past, Google has always just penalized you, disabled you, canceled you, disabled your account. But now they're taking it as far to sue you, which is really scary. And I won't confirm or deny that I know who this publisher is. But I can tell you that there are a lot of publishers. This is one of the main ways of driving traffic is using Google. It used to be Google My Business, and now it's Google Business Profile, but it's the Google Map listings. And it's pretty scary. So I saw this pop up a couple of days ago, and now I've seen it percolate through the groups. And there's a lot of people who are afraid, and there's a lot of service providers are solely exist to establish these Google business profiles. So, it's on everyone's radar, and I think it's going to cause a problem. It's going to be a big shakeup. This type of methodology to use it to drive calls.
Yeah, it talks about an elaborate set of props. You mentioned Google Maps, and it says here on the article over 14,000 illegitimate reviews. So this guy, Mr. Hugh, really put in some work to try and get away with this. And I'm assuming he did for quite some time. Has LeadSmart or 1-800-Dentist, have you guys ever had your own issues with illegitimate reviews? And what's your process for kind of fishing them out and keeping things, kosher on that front?
Yeah, specifically with 1-800-Dentist, we had publishers in the past who would utilize this method. So Google's got all these requirements in order to establish a map listing, and now they do video, interviews. And this person who's being sued. He had some way to get around it and do the interviews and pass that. I forgot exactly where I was going with that. Say the question again. I'm sorry.
If you just had your own issues with illegitimate reviews.
Back on track. So what would happen is we had publishers who would do this method. and they put some fake dentist, ABC Dental. By the time I got to our dentist office, and where is this? It caused a lot of confusion. So we get a lot of feedback from our customers when there's a problem with any particular type of call flow. So we stomp it out pretty quickly when we hear that there's a fake listing, because what we want, for us, it doesn't really work because they're thinking they're getting one dentist and then another dentist picking up, and that confusion right there usually kills any type of conversion. But it can work in other more like ambiguous things like plumbing, where you really don't care who the plumber is, or locksmith, where it's just kind of these ABC locksmith. You call, locksmith answers, and they come and take care of you. It's really benign. There's nothing going on. Where the issue is how the publisher is gaming Google, and it's no longer like just like a penalized. They're taking litigation, which is scary.
Yeah. Do the reviews affect anything related to Ringba, gentlemen over there?
No. I think in this type of scenario, for instance, Ringba has no visibility whatsoever into where phone calls are coming from. In fact, in almost all situations, Ringba has no visibility into where phone calls are coming from. We don't get to see the advertisements, the advertising creative. Most of the time, 90% of the time, we don't receive landing page data. And even if we did, the data is so astronomically massive that there's just no way that our team, even if we hired literally hundreds of people, there would be no way our team could look or QA any of those types of things. And frankly, I think in a scenario like that, it's not really our responsibility to try and figure out all those things. It's Google's platform. Google is creating the rules for their own platform, and it's their job to decide whether someone is acceptable to be on their platform or not. We just kind of transit the phone calls. So for us, I read this article, it doesn't surprise me. And I don't think it necessarily affects Ringba at all, but what it will do is it'll force publishers to think differently about how they're going to generate traffic. To me, this is a creative way to do it, but in the end, I don't think the consumer experience is as good as it should be. And I don't think it's necessary to create 14,000 fake reviews to actually drive call traffic. There are ways to do it in a sustainable, legitimate way that drive high quality consumer initiated inbounds to people like Matt. And I think what happens is someone finds a way to sort of game a system like this. They see a way to make some money, and in their mind, they probably realize that it's not going to be long term, but then they try and scale it. And so in this scenario here,
definitely scaled it.
Yeah, they definitely scaled it. And if they would have put that much effort into creating 14,000 fake reviews or whatever, these hundreds of business profiles into a more sustainable business model, they'd still have something right now. And so I do think that Google My Business, or whatever it's called now, probably isn't going away. I think people just need to find a way to do it that is far less.
And Google's been changing the way that businesses get onboarded to Google My Business for years and years and years. I remember a few years ago, they would mail you something to the address that you put on, for example.
Yeah.
And then people figured out ways to game that. So now they do these interviews, and I think they still mail you something. So they're constantly changing it. And I guess they're just sick of this, and so they went for it. And I would assume they sue one person to kind of set an example.
Well, I think in this scenario, they likely reached out and tried to talk to this person to get them to stop. I think the reality is, in a lot of these situations, a company will reach out, they'll send a letter, they'll try and do something before they engage in this type of litigation. The litigation probably doesn't get them anything. It probably doesn't solve any problems for them. But what happens is they'll send a letter out, and then someone won't comply with the letter, and they'll still try and bypass and circumvent the things on the platform. And that's when a company gets really upset about it, because they know that this person is trying to exploit it. And so, just thinking off the top of my head, there's a bunch of different ways you could do something similar like this, but not be so disingenuous about it. And that's why I'm a big advocate of actually reading the terms and conditions of platforms, because they'll tell you the rules, what's acceptable and not acceptable. And if you can navigate through the maze of those rules, you can build something that's sustainable. It's not as easy. but neither is making 14,000 fake reviews. So
I don't know. With ChatGPT, it might be pretty easy now.
ChatGPT is pretty skilled. They can even say niche.
Well, speaking of niche, Matt, I'm curious.
Speaking of niche, have you seen Harrison's Miami Ringba tank top right here? I arrived in Miami.
I mean, it's
for
all over Instagram. Yeah,
our meeting, and he keeps trying to get me to put one of these things on, and I'm just not going to do it.
Resisting, dude. He's not ready.
Adam, when's the last time you've worn a tank top? It's got to be a couple decades, right?
I don't know if I've ever worn a tank top.
Oh, we're gonna get him to tank top shape, dude. We got this. He's coming to.
He's got me doing 2-a-days right now. I'm sore as shit.
We're joining Team Tank. Okay,
we're getting the arms ready for the tank season. Matt, speaking of niches, right? Niches. What are the best niches when it comes to building campaigns, especially in pay-per-call that you work with?
So I look at it two ways. So one, you either go for the big, high dollar, high competitive, like water damage or any of like the lawyer offers. Where you can make, $300, $400, $500 a call as a publisher. It's going to be much more competitive, and it goes without saying, right? It's going to cost more, it's going to be harder, but the prize is bigger. But then there's the other, I always say niches, because niches make riches. Niches, what a niche is.
Yeah, right? Team niches. Let's go. Right. All right, cool. I got one with me. All right.
Niches get stitches, Josh.
Yeah, exactly. We got to be careful.
We had a term, I'll go and tell you, called niche banging, where we'd really bang a niche. It's kind of a vulgar term, but it gets the point.
Okay.
I love it.
This niche is bang. Niche bang. This is a PG-13 and up show for sure. Yeah.
So the other side of the coin is go for these non-competitive but highly in demand services like gutter cleaning, concrete, landscaping. No disrespect to those types of owners, but they're normally not sophisticated as like a lawyer or a doctor or dentist, which is going to usually hire someone to do some good SEO. Generally, there you can get in some positions and generate some traffic. With comes less competition, is usually a less payout. So, and then there's normal bread and butter stuff like plumbing, heating, cooling, electric, different insurances that are always going to be high in demand. You just have to figure out as a publisher where to get yourself in the middle.
Are these really seasonal verticals, or would you say all of these are fairly obviously heating is going to be busier in the winter, and then you got your HVAC in the summer, but like in general, like I've always thought that, for example, like things that are kind of remodel or restoring kind of based, like bathroom remodel type stuff, et cetera, is more seasonal, or like doing landscaping is more seasonal because who wants to redo their front yard in February in New Hampshire? But am I wrong? And are those year round because people still need the gardener to come and trim some trees and shit?
Yeah, there's definitely ebbs and flow, like with in kind of regional too, like, Miami, right? Florida, you guys have landscaping year round. Chicago, where I'm at, our landscaping companies turn into snow removal companies. But in general, I would say every niche has its own kind of ebb and flow through the year. Dentistry is super popular in January, and then it kind of dies off.
Is there any reason?
Yeah, why is that?
People are trying to get,
or it's like everyone's doing New Year's
resolution, white teeth.
Exactly, going to the dentist. We think it's
Harrison,
for insurance.
I got some fake teeth in January. I'm kind of I got it.
So Matt, what's overall like your busiest time of year, like all things considered? What's like the busiest season or busiest month for you guys?
You probably right now, because we're so into Lead Smart is so ingrained with the home services. So right now everything is going with home services. It's super hot, so AC is really big, pest control is huge. Plumbing is always, plumbing is one of those that's year round constantly. But this is the for Lead Smart, usually June, July, August, and a lot of publishers too. This is who are in home services is where we, our big months.
Matt, I have a question. I have a question for you, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I've never fully heard the story. Would you be willing to tell us how you became the CEO of Futuredontics? Like, how did this whole, can we hear it?
I think I could tell most of it.
Okay.
Let me see. So 1-800-Dentist was a customer of LeadSmart for about 10 years. They used to do tons of TV commercials. They changed ownership a few times, and the TV commercial, channel, the way they were getting leads just no longer became profitable. They shifted into leads from and phone calls, consumer initiated phone calls from the web. LeadSmart became one of their biggest vendors. COVID really screwed up the dental industry. They could only do emergency. So all of the dentists, I mean, literally every single one of them shut down for taking leads from 1-800-Dentist. The way they were paying LeadSmart, they were floating a really big bill with them, and then COVID hit. So we had this huge bill. They were owned by a private equity company who the leadership of 1-800-Dentist said, look, we just got to connect you with the ownership. These guys realized what I was doing and the business that they owned. They had only owned it a few months. They picked it up from the original owner had sold it. It changed hands a couple times. Fred Joyle, then he bought it back and then sold it back to this private equity company. They ended up with it. Once we connected, they're really smart guys, and they realized, okay, we owe LeadSmart a bunch of money, but Matt seems to know what he's doing with the pay-per-call business. We own a pay-per-call business, and they put me in. And one thing led to another. We were able to trade, old AP for equity, and then I became the CEO. And it's been awesome. And we've turned the company around. I mean, this company was losing multiple six figures a month, and now we're positive EBITDA and kicking ass.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. So I just want to point out there that I think it's amazing that you took a very potentially negative situation for you and them and turned it into an incredible opportunity for you and them. And
cool.
that's really cool, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Matt, do you see?
There was a lot of blood. I will say there was one thing that I came in with. LeadSmart is a really small company. Even though we have all these affiliates, we rely on software and just smart systems. 1-800-Dentist, when I joined, had 153 employees. You guys want to guess what we're down to now?
Under 20. Under
20, yeah. Or about like 12. We just hired a couple people back, so we stripped completely down, put in systems, brought in Ringba. And that was the number one thing that we did. And so this is perfect. How instrumental Ringba. We definitely couldn't have done it with you guys. Even though I was already in bed with you and already decided that we're doing Ringba, we checked out every other company. Leadership wasn't just sold on that, like, hey, we're going with Ringba. Everywhere else couldn't do it. And they couldn't do it in the timeline that I'm like, hey guys, we need this done in like 6 weeks. We're doing this. And you guys, we did it. It was awesome. So in a nutshell, our old system, 1-800-Dentist, was we took all the calls to a call center. And this call center originally was in downtown LA, and we moved it to Nicaragua. And that was about 70, 80 of our employees. And they took all the calls, figured out what the person needed, what type of dental insurance they had, where they're located, et cetera, and then we transfer them. And what we found was that was really expensive, and consumers didn't like spending 10 minutes on the phone with us just to get transferred to a dentist. So we eliminated that call center, which was $250,000 plus a month, plus didn't allow us to scale, all these restrictions. And we implemented an API, the IVR, with Ringba. And now when the calls come in, the consumers put their zip code in. Our API, or Ringba's API hits our server. Our server then figures out, based on that zip code, based on the proximity and all these other little algorithm things, boom, which dentist to send it to. It happens in milliseconds. And that's all patched through Ringba now. Our whole business is in Ringba. And it's taken us from a company burning millions of dollars a year to a company making millions of dollars a year. That piece, without it, we wouldn't be able to do it. So huge debt to you.
No, not a debt, man. That's awesome. You earned that, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to help you guys grow your business. Like, that's our mission. And to hear this story, not even knowing the story, to hear it
really cool.
Is super cool. And so we're grateful for you as a customer. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve you and all these consumers who you impact, right? Because you guys run a lot of calls. And so I think the interesting thing about pay-per-call is a lot of the times the affiliates or even the other people in the industry don't really realize that we're impacting people. We're like helping people get what they need. We're helping people find exactly what they want. And when you use really smart routing technology and all your, your APIs and the call treatments and like all the stuff that like you and me and Harrison just go crazy about every single day, it like really improves the experience for a consumer and they don't even know. And so I think that's a really cool thing about our industry because we can build sustainable businesses, not like this Google guy, and really create a better outcome for consumers, for brands, for the affiliate. Like everyone involved wins. And so, yeah. So
I have a 1-800 dentist question for you. When you're like, establishing relationship and selling calls to dental offices, is it typically like emergency dental care focused? When I was 10, I chipped my tooth and it was on the weekend and we used 1-800 dentist from those TV commercials actually to find us a dentist. Or is it cosmetic focused, or do you have like different kind of campaigns and options for your local dental offices to buy? Like I have nice fake veneers. Do you have veneer calls and emergency dental calls and cleaning calls, or is it all just kind of generic? Just curious.
Yeah, so there were some downsides from shifting to a concierge call center that then takes all your specific needs and then matches you with the dentist that has all that.
So now it's just location.
Yeah, so now it's the location, proximity, and then we have a bidding system. So which is really nice. We've created kind of a marketplace within our own dentist. So if we've got multiple dentists in a certain zip, it's like whoever bids more wins. But we've also included their conversion rate. So how well does it elapse to the 90 seconds or not? So so now unfortunately for the consumer, from the phone experience, they can't do that. If they're doing an online experience, they could get more granular and we can match them through that. The majority of all of our patients or callers come through the phone. We do look to hope to pivot back to doing more like online stuff because we do get a lot of online visits to our web properties, but to have someone do a more like refined search. But right now, in terms of our dentists, the truth of the matter is when someone's looking for a new dentist, it's an emergency situation. Their normal dentist isn't open. You're looking for a new dentist. The other thing that we're experiencing that's maybe unique to dentistry is that people don't need a reason not to go to the dentist, right? Like COVID was a great excuse for 2 years not to see a dentist. And some people just love going to the dentist. I get it. And some people hate it. So there is a huge, I think backlog of people for 2 years that didn't go to a dentist. They might have lost contact with their dentist and now they're getting back in. They need to find somebody. They call 1-800 dentist or they search for dentist near me and they see our ad or whatever.
I have a couple questions for you. I'd like you to unpack something. First, just to dive in a little deeper on the dentist side. So in your scenario for our audience, the dentist is the call buyer. They're buying the leads from you. You're supplying the leads to them. And you have a bidding system in place where, you have 3 dentists in Poughkeepsie. One of them is paying $45. The other one's paying $43. I'm just making up numbers. Another one's paying $40. And you said that you were looking at the conversion rates and giving it to the dentist as well. So are you doing their bidding based on the effective revenue per call, including the conversion rate? So if like one dentist is much more effective at converting, they get an overall lower price?
Yeah, well, they'll get the call. So it actually ties into the real-time bidding. So
Okay.
a publisher sends a call into the real-time bidding platform. So we're pinged. And mind you, but for the audience, this is everything I'm talking about. It happens in a second, like under a second. So the caller calls, we get the ping from the publisher that there's a call available for this zip code. Then it pings our server, and our server then will resolve the best dentist office to send it to, and then from that we're able to derive a bid that we're going to bid on, which will be a margin percentage. So, whatever the case, yeah. So that's how it works. What happens in real time, which is just amazing to us because our algorithm could change based on conversions and different things that are happening here, and then we don't have to constantly make adjustments as the bids come in through real time bidding. Our algorithm can just spit out the best bid and the best result and that which helps the publisher and then really helps the consumer too, because the consumer wants to end up. It's good for the consumer if it converts. That means they've got taken care of it to some degree.
I think a lot of people that are call buyers in our industry aren't fully aware of the value of real-time bidding. I think they somewhat understand what it is, but what you just said there is one of the most valuable things for it, and that is you don't have to have a big team. You can still run an astronomically large amount of volume, and with real-time bidding, you have control over whether you're buying the call, what you're paying the call. You can adjust it, change the market dynamics, do all these things without communicating with your publishers. You don't have to send emails to 12 publishers and get them to send calls or not send calls or change the hours or change the pricing. You're like, do all this management, the human management. And so, it's awesome to hear that you're leveraging that with a small team, because that's what it's really designed for. And even the big companies, we have a bunch of big insurance companies that use real-time bidding, that they give us the same feedback, which is effectively we've reduced our operational team to one person who's on top of it, whereas they used to have all this other management, publisher management involved and all these ops people involved. And now those people get to go back and do more productive things because the software handles it for them. So it's really cool to see how you basically riffed the entire force at 1-800-DENTIST and replaced it with a really innovative technology implementation and flipped it around. So that's really cool. My next question is related to all the dentists that you manage. Like, can you walk me through the pain and suffering of managing 20,000 or whatever it is independent dentist office? And then also, how do you recruit them? What does that process look like? I don't think most of the people who listen to the pod have ever thought about even attempting to manage 10,000 customers or however many you have. I'm not outing you, I don't actually know. But it would be fascinating for me to learn that.
Yeah, it's probably all in all closer to 6,000 dental offices. I tell you what, I think everything in my world comes down to systems, automate as much as possible, use automatic reports as much as possible. This company has been in existence since it was founded in 1986. When I came, there was a lot of quirks and a lot of people who've been there a long time, and it really came. Our customer success department, and I don't out anybody, and I don't use anybody by name in terms of, who we replaced, but, we had about 14-person staff that did all the customer success, plus some support people to that. And it was really just about getting I brought in one person that I had worked previously with for 5 years, and I knew this person was, it's an 80-20 rule, that 20% are doing 80% of the work. And I knew I needed to just get to that. So it was really just cut the fat out and support automation. And I've got right now the customer support. We're really managing it with 5 people,
Nice.
5 core people that manage all of this. And we use, email, chat, phone, however we need to communicate with these dentists. I'll say the nice thing with dentistry versus roofers. Roofers are terribly unprofessional, really hard to get a hold of. Sometimes it's one guy and he's just winging it. Dental offices are much more professional. They've got a receptionist. They're always going to answer. There's someone to talk to always. So dentists are easier to manage, and they're a smarter group of consumer or customers too. They're sometimes that could be a problem. They get in their way, but for the most part, it just seems dealing with roofers or dealing with plumbers, I'd rather deal with the dentist.
It's funny that you
complete
mentioned
sense.
Roofers. I've had a ton of issues with roofers in particular. I was going to ask, we talk about, I'm serious, I've had some issues, bro. It's hard to get into.
Gotta be careful, man. These guys are...
Or gutter guys. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's usually one guy. I don't know. During COVID, I feel like so many people were trying to do home improvement that they had a surplus of work to do. So they didn't have to call you back. It was I'm busier than I could ever imagine. So it was really you need me more than I need you, and you're just chasing them down. Matt, I was going to ask you, we talk about time management a lot on this show. And I was just curious, with 1-800-DENTIST and LeadSmart, do you kind of look at it as two separate entities, one entity. How do you basically decide how much time in the day goes to each one? Is it really just on an as needed basis? What's your kind of, way of going into that each day?
For sure, for sure. Well, Seth. So Seth is my VP. He basically runs LeadSmart. He's worked for me since he was 14 years old. He foregoed a college career to jump into LeadSmart, and it's paying off huge for him. So in LeadSmart,
Can I give a shout out to Seth real quick?
Yeah.
So I messaged what I thought was you. And
right.
It was
common problem. Yes.
Yes. And Seth was like, no, here, I was sending you the goat, right? And so I was like, Seth, I need a UPS address. And he's like, okay, let me confirm it can use UPS. I'll go get the address. And he gets me the address. And then this guy was relentless with his follow-up. He's like, do you have tracking? I was like, no, I'll get it to you when it's ready to go. It's like, okay, hey, just wanted to follow up on that package. Hey, just wanted to follow up on that package. Hey, shoot me. It was super polite. Just like, hey, shoot me the tracking whenever you get that package.
Persistence.
It was amazing. And I was like,
good.
All right, dude, listen, I love what you're doing here, but I was just like, I can't handle this amount of follow-up. But by the time I got the tracking information, it was already delivered. So I was like, shit.
That's how he is. He manages. We use Skype like crazy. I don't know, like the people in Asia, they love Skype. So we're Skype heavy. He gets 100 to 150 Skype messages, conversations a day. Sometimes they're lighter, but these are not just messages. And he's convo, so he just rips through like a Terminator on there. So you were on if you're on Seth's list, you'll get hit up.
Well, I meant that entirely as a compliment. I give props to your boy Seth. He is awesome.
I was gonna say he is very good to communicate with. Are you like use that Skype account too sometimes, or it's pretty much just him?
So it's the LeadSmart support Skype. So we keep that there. Sometimes I jump in and I always tell Seth, don't pretend that you're me, because we talk way different. Like he's super, whatever.
Now I just assume it's always Seth now. It's always Seth. Even when it's you, it's still Seth. Like in my head, it doesn't matter. So anyways, but going back to that, does he basically handle all of LeadSmart unless there's a huge fire you need to get involved with and you're kind of focused on the dentist stuff, or what's like the breakdown?
He'll come. I got a nice home office, pretty big. So he'll come to work a couple days a week, and we'll go over any big initiatives. And he texts me a handful of times a day, just like, hey, I need an answer on this. Like, hey, Josh wants to know if we want to do this. There's a text I'll get from him. But he's a rock star, and he understands. Now the flip side is Futuredontics is a straight up corporate job. Lots of set meetings, and it's way more involved. I've got to answer to people. I've got my equity partners I've got to meet with every couple of weeks. And that's, I live and die by my Outlook schedule. And I really, my main focus is really on Futuredontics. There's just a lot more work to be done there. And then LeadSmart, we call it, we're pressing the button. We figured out a way to make money with it. We're just pressing that motherfucker as many times as we can until it breaks. So
Nice. I like that.
So we talked about RTB a bit, but I'm curious, what other methods, in your opinion, are the best when it comes to driving calls? Is it dependent on like the niche and the offer itself, or is there really
sometimes
just one?
People call it niche,
or niche, right?
We're the niche gang.
What is the best way to get those phone calls, in your opinion? Obviously.
Yeah, I think that so for me, I started off building websites, and I figured out sometime in this might have been like 2003. I had a cleaning company, and I had a blog, and I put Vernon Hills carpet cleaner, because we had bought a carpet cleaner. The next day, that thing was #1 in Google, and I said, "Oh my god!" And that was the beginning of the end of me being a service provider, because I was like, "Holy shit, I can write." I used to write my name on the internet. So that was the big way. That was it. All I did was build websites. But then there was the Panda and Penguin Google updates. It just kind of like took the power out of this, and I transitioned into an affiliate network because I built up all these buyers. So, but the reason I say that is because I still believe in investing in SEO. So it's a longer term game. But if you were to let's say you wanted to be in the pest control niche, you can create this great pest control website, and especially using ChatGPT and all these AI tools. Make this like an awesome website that teaches you about how to DIY stuff, like how to get rid of, I got freaking these hornets nests in my attic, and what do I do? And I've had 2 pest control guys like not be able to deal with it. So whatever, that, build a really useful content site. And it takes a while. But that can really, in terms of like this theme of this is like not scamming, right? Give Google what it wants. It wants to provide good, useful content to its users for the queries that they're searching. So how do you provide that? Now more than ever with these AI content creators, like creating a site is great. And there's definitely different ways you can create a directory, create informative. So that's one way. That's a long-term type of way, but I think the payoff could be enormous. I'll just give you an example. We've got an affiliate that does close to $100,000 a month that we pay him for a dental directory site that he made 6 or 7 years ago. He's living on Easy Street, just collecting $100K a month with zero cost. His cost is $10 a year for hosting. And not saying that's going to be your results, but like if you were to say, hey, I want to build a site, I want to make a couple $100 a month off of it, it's totally within the reach. So SEO is for sure. Now, Google My Business listing would be something I used to recommend, but I would stay away from that unless you're going to figure out a way to do it it's going to jive with what Google wants. I'll give you an example. Let's say you wanted to sell like Medicare or Medicaid or health insurance, or any type of service. You can create a call, like a service, like a concierge service where you answer calls and you help the consumers navigate through picking a health insurance company or something like that. Like if you're hooked up with, there's lots of different networks. LeadSmart's not one of them, but like I'm trying to think, Avenge, I think is one, and they work with State Farm and Progressive and all the different ones. And so that's one way you could do there with like using Google My Business, but I would be really careful, or Google Business Profile, not to get sued. Social, huge. And there's 2 ways you can go about social. You can do organic, where you're build a page and you build an audience, you build content around it. Another organic way is to join all those local groups, specifically on Facebook, and spam the shit out of them there. Like, if you're promoting a plumber offer or whatever, like you need a plumber, put your tracking number and put that in all the groups. That will make you money. So that's another way. And then paid socials, huge. I think that's probably taking over Google PPC, which would be another way. Like if you can figure out Google, AdWords, formerly called AdWords, I always change the name. So paid ad through Google, paid ad through social. You've got your SEO, you've got your GMBs or Google Business Profile, and then you've got outbound, which is you got to be careful with outbound because that's the land of lawsuits as well. Outbound is really only good B2B, so that could work in things like commercial cleaning, pest control, commercial roofing. Maybe can be one of them. And then you're selling home security systems, because you're still allowed, to my knowledge, to telemarket, cold call businesses. You just can't cold call consumers.
Yeah, I think you're right, but double check if you want to cold call some businesses. Another thing that I want to throw in there, which people don't talk about that much, Matt, and for me has always been a fascinating process. Like, we don't do this anymore, but back in the day, both Harrison and I, together and separately, did a lot of click arbitrage, a lot of affiliate marketing, and we were always looking for unique ways to promote a campaign. And the thing about affiliate marketing is generally you can only do it on the internet using digital, like you're talking about with the Google and the Facebook and buying the ads and all these different channels. But the thing about pay-per-call that always struck me as interesting was that you can do TV, you can do radio, you can do road signs on the corner. Call now for plumbing, great price.
Bandit signs, yeah.
Yeah, direct mail. You can do billboards and out-of-home advertising, like all these crazy things. Infinite opportunities. And a lot of people, when I say these things, they're like, yeah, right, like no one listens to radio or no one does roads. So like all these things are silly. And so I was driving down the road not too long ago near my place, and there was a guy jumping out of the back of a pickup truck and slamming signs into the ground. And so I started following this dude, and I just kept watching what he was doing. Yeah, I know, guys. So, like, I'm fascinated by a guy jumping out.
We watch infomercials in hotel rooms, okay? We're not normal human beings.
And so I call the number while I'm driving, and it clearly goes to a lead generation place. It's not like a direct plumber. It's not like some guy named Bill answering. And so when the guy pulls over the truck, I ask him, like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, some people pay me a couple $100 a day. I go pick up the signs and I just slam them into the ground around these. They give me like an area and I go do it. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating because, there's all these little niche areas that most people aren't monetizing. I also know some folks that are a small team that are doing 8 figures buying classified ads in crappy newspapers in the smallest towns around America. And so the cool thing about a phone number is you can print it anywhere. It doesn't have to be on the internet. It doesn't require a credit card to like fill out a form and buy something. And so, I always challenge people to think differently and look at opportunities like that. And I'll be somewhat transparent about it because I can't be fully transparent about it, but there is an immense amount of volume on our platform that comes from non-digital sources. I'm not talking about like, a couple $100,000 here. I'm talking about like millions and millions and millions of dollars, probably a week.
I'll mention a time 2 years ago or so, we were sitting in a hotel room in Vegas. It was during Medicare enrollment period. And we had a couple TVs up, like different news networks, and like all the news networks pretty much up. And I see a Medicare commercial and I'm like, So I write the phone number down on a different news network, whatever. See another one, I write the number down. I get like 4 or 5 numbers. I go, Adam, check these Ringba numbers. So he's like, give me a sec. Message the support team, whatever. Like 4 out of 5 of them are Ringba numbers. We go, holy shit, people use Ringba for tracking their calls on TV. We had we did not know that people used Ringba for that. And then, there was like a huge, like, wow.
Thousands of CC. Thousands.
I'll add to that I didn't mention, just kind of the out of the box, some of the affiliates. Now that you say that, we do have affiliates that do like church newsletters. Same deal that you're saying, like cheap classified ads.
Yes.
Like grocery store bulletin boards. Same thing. You put the thing up. You need a handyman, need a plumber,
wow.
whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there was the other one.
I'm getting so excited. Keep going.
We have another affiliate. I don't know how much volume it is, but he said that he was doing, it's called Blip, I believe, where it's like fractional time for
billboard, right?
For digital billboards.
Yeah. You buy the remnant billboard space. It's like they have a website. I've seen this. Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. And if you do the remnant style, so that's perfect. If you can couple it up, like you've got a nationwide offer and then you can find remnant place to drop the ad for super cheap, you can really make that work.
Yeah, there's also out of home, which is really interesting, or not out of home, but OTT, which is your Hulu set streaming ads,
Peacock, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the interesting about those is the targeting is more granular. It's not like TV where you're just targeting a region. They can do almost full digital targeting with those ads. And something that's really fascinating about that is you can do QR to call. And so basically people are sitting in their living room 100% of the time. They have their phone or an iPad in their hand or whatever. And so, if you can do the phone number, but also a QR to call, and they can scan it. It's the same format as a click to call link basically. And you just put that in the QR code as the URL as opposed to, an HTTP URL. And what ends up happening is just pops up, do you want to call this number? And so you can do QR to call that way. And I think those types of advertising platforms are, not only are they under monetized, like they're not tapped by the performance marketing industry, but there's an incredible opportunity for all verticals for that. And something that I haven't seen a lot of in pay-per-call that I wish I would see more of, because like this is where I would be going. I wouldn't be going to compete with all these people on Facebook. I would be saying, where is there like unlimited traffic that no one is monetizing because they're scared of it or don't know or no one's cracked it yet? And so like I would be doing Pandora and Spotify and like trying to create radio ad jingles basically and putting them inside these platforms to get people on the phone. And so, YouTube is also a massive driver of pay-per-call traffic. And so there's just so much opportunity in so many verticals with so many unique traffic sources that pay-per-call is just way cooler than affiliate or just digital because you can be so creative.
I want to piggyback right off of that pay-per-call, and this is coming right back to you, Matt. How would I, Joshua Sebo, the OfferVault guy, the face, the brand of OfferVault, how would I jump into pay-per-call if I was brand new to this space? What would be the first few steps you would recommend I take to really get my feet wet?
For sure. So high level, you kind of determine first, like what type of affiliate, like you just want to be an affiliate and you just want to make money off calls. And you don't want to deal with too many customer or, clients, and you don't want to do too much sales, and you just want to, just make money from calls, or you're trying to build an agency, right? Like, do you want to build an agency? So if someone was starting out, I would recommend them to do the agency route. I would recommend them to like pick a niche that they're going to specialize in, because it's going to be easier. There's no way around getting. You're going to have to sell at some point. But I do think if someone was starting right now, that they pick a niche that they're going to do, pest control or insurance or whatever it is, and then build your brand around that. Like you're the pest control marketing guru. I think it's easier to sell. I've seen that just with 1-800-DENTIST, even though there's a lot of brand equity with that. Just saying that we're 1-800-DENTIST and our whole business is dedicated to marketing for dentists, versus I'm talking to like somebody through LeadSmart. Sure, I can still make the sale, but we're not a roofing specialist marketing company, so it makes it a little bit easier there. What I'd really focus on is getting your first initial client, even if it's pro bono, because what you or anybody new to this needs to understand is what these small businesses are up against in terms of generating new customers for their business. So you can have a better understanding and appreciation. I think that would be the best way to get started, is to work for somebody in terms of like, look, you're going to have some base knowledge of what you want to do. But the scenario I see with like a lot of contractors is they don't understand this growth cycle that exists on Google, that if they simply can just provide good service, then prompt for a review.
Let me just jump in,
Yeah.
Matthew. A friend of mine I forget what the vertical, this was like a year or two ago, but he was working with an affiliate network. It was a home services type offer, but they didn't have a lot of buyers in this category. And he calls me and says, dude, how can I get some direct buyers myself? I called a local, I forget what it was. He called a local vendor in his town, and they were like, this sounds like a scam. No, we're not buying calls. And my advice to him was just tell them you'll give them some for free, because they're gonna when they get a warm customer on the phone, they're gonna be like, holy shit, this person wants whatever it is. And so I just think what you said is just such a great point, because if you can give that contractor or that plumber or pest control office, whatever it is, a free taste, it's like crack. You give them a sample and they're hooked. I had to trash it up a bit. I am wearing a tank top.
Yeah, I love it. And I didn't mention, I normally never have sleeves on. Even through the winter, whatever, I show
my dog. Yeah.
I put sleeves on for this, so I was kicking myself.
Oh God.
We're gonna have to have you back just so everyone. We'll do a dress code for that episode.
Harrison, send him a Ringba tank.
Yeah, send him a Ringba tank, dude.
You're getting a Ringba tank.
These are special edition. No one else except for me has them, and you will be the first, not Harrison, to have a Ringba tank.
I'll send a medium for me. Thank you.
Well, that means I got to get you a small, because I should be a large, but you see, to show the pump, you have to go size down.
You know what? I'm hip to the game. I'm already factoring that in.
Okay, good.
Wow. Oh, shit. Okay. All right.
What's up?
I already
A little bit of figurative and literal flex there. Matt, thank you so much for joining the Affiliate Marketing Show. For myself, Josh from OfferVault, the Call Daddy, Adam Young, the industry legend, Harrison Gevirtz, and Matthew Zivkovic, the founder and CEO of LeadSmart, as well as the CEO and operating partner of Futuredontics, 1-800-DENTIST. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you next time.